All right, what's going on, everybody? If you can hear me, please drop me a comment. Let me know you can hear me so I can proceed from there. As always, the last week of the month, I do a wrap up of what we previously saw throughout the month, of course, and I move into monthly chart prep. It's not something that I look at every week like I would the weekly, daily, hourly time frames. But towards the end of the month, when we do close out and head towards our next little venture here, particularly with the quarterly shift as well, I do like to review them and see if we could pick up on anything good. So, um, there is a delay to this, but I'm just gonna get going and roll into it. If there are any names that you want me to chart, feel free to drop them in below, and I'll get going. So, let's see. Present here. Let me pull that up. Okay, good. And whoa, hold on. I lost all connection here. That's not good. Hold on. Nope. All right, we're back. Whoops, that was wacky. All right, sorry. Lost a little connection there, but let me share my screen and get us going. So let me come on over here and we can. All right, cool. Let me shift that up. Great. All right, so monthly perspective, of course, we took out our all-time highs the previous month. This month, you will notice that we did not create any bullish imbalance, okay? So what that would look like is something like this. Imbalance to the upside, no price contested in this specific vicinity. So therefore, when price retraces back into it, we would anticipate price to get in and get lost from that point, okay? So the fact that we did not do that, not really all that many additional answers, unfortunately. Okay. So we do have these we have a bullish fair value gap here and a bullish volume imbalance that was created at the end of last month. So we can view these levels as support moving forward. It does not necessarily mean next month it absolutely 100% has to come back down into here. It's not the case. Is there a possibility? For sure, but we will have to see. Something that I've continuously stayed on with since early January, actually, is that until we see some sort of imbalance, there's really no reason for me to look lower, specifically on the weekly time frame, right? And why am I saying that? Look back historically, until you get that weekly imbalance to the downside, you typically do not see pullbacks, right? You can go through every single time and notice that until you get some sort of imbalance, right? That will oftentimes give you a little bit of a hint that price is ready to retrace back down into discount of its range, right? Historically, market tends to go higher, and even your quote unquote bear market is technically just a discount retracement. Okay, from that low up to that high, here's your discount retracement, bullish imbalance, and from there we went up and ultimately created a new all-time high. So that is NASDAQ again. Unfortunately, we didn't really get any monthly answer here with the only answer that we got was no imbalance being formed. And that's all right. That happens. But until I see an imbalance to the downside, to me, there's no reason for me to try and call the top. I'm not going to get suckered into missing out on this run like we did because CNBC wants me to. I'm going to continue to trust not only myself, but just look at throughout history. I mean, there tends to be signals or signs that price is ready to retrace a little bit, and at the moment we're not showing any of that. So I'd prefer not to try and call the top, but just wait for something to actually prove it to me that we are going to move down. So that would be just an overall idea of the market and NASDAQ specifically. Now throughout, I'm just kind of doing my own little prep for the week ahead and moving forward, but I'm going to take a look at specific names as we go through. Very similarly, actually, ironically, ES with a bullish fair value gap here, while NASDAQ did not form one here on the monthly time frame. Okay. So you also notice that the range on ES is much more extended. So ES SPY, same concept. But you form that bullish imbalance here on SPY. That is a good thing. But on NASDAQ, you did not. So that would be the divergence between the two. NASDAQ has been running much harder, much stronger for really a longer time at this point. That was really the whole switch for me, or the pivot to start trading NASDAQ much more than SPY was I felt as if NASDAQ was the leader of much of last year. And while it was, we're starting to catch up a little bit here with SPY also well above its all-time highs, dating back to back in January of 22. So with that said, that's kind of an index little wrap there. We can look towards IWM as well. And, here's IWM taking out, whoops, hold on. There it is. We just took out buy side liquidity from the high dating back to August of 2022. And we had that bullish market structure shift a couple weeks back with our discount retracement, ultimately running to our highs. Hold on. There you go. Whoops. There it is. Okay. So at this point, you do have a couple more levels of liquidity above. Sorry, when the contracts rolled, it messed up a lot of my lines here. But ultimately, if we're taking a look at IWM as well, the biggest difference that you can tell is that SPY and NASDAQ are well above all-time high. And you have IWM, or the Russell, RTY, if you're a futures person. But you'll notice that ultimately the Russell has lagged behind quite a bit, actually. And if we're to look right here, we do have this previous weekly bearish fair value gap right there, in which we're getting into that for the first time right now. Above that, let's just see, we had this rejection right here. Where does that come from? You have that bearish fair value gap as well. You have this small but still noteworthy bearish fair value gap here. You have another one here. So at this point with IWM in comparison to the other indices, you're going to notice that, this is something that we would consider a high resistance liquidity run, right? So if you buy into the idea that the market is driven by liquidity or money, that's likely where price wants to go. The only difference here is that we actually have many levels of resistance holding us back from that point. Even when we were here on, say, NASDAQ, we really weren't working with all that much resistance in comparison. So just worth noting that Russell and IWM, they are lagging behind quite a bit. So again, let's just look at it from the monthly perspective as well. Monthly looks a little bit better. Yeah, actually on the monthly, you're not working with all that much, just the weekly. So we did take out that high right there as well. You do have this bullish monthly fair value gap right here. And after taking out that high, I can have a new mini range set. So what do I mean by mini range? So we can draw it just like this. What was the price run that took out these highs right here from low to high? Notice there was no discount retracement. Therefore, the range, in my opinion, is not set. And if the range is not set, I have to wait for it to do so. Okay. So does that necessarily mean that we're going to roll over back into this fair value gap here? Not necessarily. Could it? Sure. But, ultimately, the ideal situation for me would be to get a discount imbalance, which is down here quite a bit off. But just from the looks of it here, it doesn't look all that bad without higher time frame monthly resistance levels that we're really working on. So that would be the Russell. Let's continue over here and just check out crude oil, because crude oil has been a bit, I don't want to say nightmarish, but it has taken so much longer than a lot of these other names to kind of get up and get going. Very similar in my book to how these Chinese names, right? There's been multiple times where the setups looked all right, and ultimately they're just slow as can be and really have not moved much of anything. So, but let me just map out some of these imbalances here on CL, which is energy. I look towards that as energy as a whole. But we continue on here and just move on up. Okay, price run to take out that high here. It's from low to our high. Here's our discount retracement into a bullish imbalance, and so far so good. You actually have one more imbalance here that we held successfully. So ultimately, to me, drawn liquidity for energy would be higher, at the very least. That would be at 93.45, so about $10 higher. So I am expecting energy to move higher at this point. Which name in particular, we can look at them all individually, of course. But I do have a few energy names that I currently own. And again, for a long while, they were a total headache, just not really moving nearly as well as a lot of the other stuff. But of course, when you first learn about this stuff, you are told to diversify, do this, do that. And that's why I just wanted to have some exposure. And the good thing about it is, they really were never all that red. But, I was able to accumulate while price was kind of stagnant, and ultimately now kind of awaiting this next move higher. So, but anyways, on to Bitcoin. Completed my model last month beautifully. Low to our high. Okay, let's just move it over here. Turtle soup. There it is. Discount retracement, bullish imbalance, and a run through our highs. That is where my model completes. So from this point, what was the price run? And I like to use the immediate price run that takes out a specific high. And in this case, it would be from this low here, because this is the consecutive price run to take out this high right here. And there we are. So again, we are currently setting a range. Is this the high? Not necessarily. Okay. I'm not saying that it is or not, but in order to trade using my model in this sense, I like to have discount retracements, right? And that doesn't mean that you can't look on a smaller time frame for that discount retracement, because those ranges are often very different. So if we were to look at the monthly range in comparison to the daily range, I bet you're going to see something much different. So that would be for Bitcoin. Now we'll get into some of these individual names, and this is one that I'm actually curious about. So, all right. So to look at the monthly chart on Tesla now, we have our price run right here from low to our high, ultimately getting here for our discount retracement. And now here's where things get fuzzy. We do have a bullish order block here on the monthly chart, which is a good thing for bulls, and we ended up holding it off, which is pretty good. The caveat here is now you have this bearish monthly imbalance. So if you are bullish, this is a clear area that you need to take care of. Is there a chance that price gets up into it and ultimately makes another low? There is a chance for that for sure. You actually do have relative monthly lows right here down towards that 159 level. But if we were to get down to that 159, I think 152 happens relatively quickly after that. So that's just food for thought. Ultimately, I do think Tesla goes higher, but it's a matter of, did we put our foot in the ground here? Is that enough for us to make that move higher at this point? Or are we going to see a turtle soup move, which would mean to take liquidity or sweep this low in the inverse direction of the overall trend, which, this is a monthly chart, so we are using a higher time frame. So I'm getting my range from 2020 to our highs all the way back in November of 2021. So that would be our range on Tesla. So that the creation of this monthly bearish imbalance right here, and that happened last month actually. But ultimately, this is a very important spot. Okay. So even if you are to retrace back up into here, that would be, everybody would kind of get all bullish and stuff. But ultimately, this is the level that you got to take care of. This level is filled. So honestly, don't anticipate that causing much of a problem when the time comes. But yeah, this is 205 to 228. That's a big spot for a price to get through. So that is Tesla. Now, I'm not going to necessarily look at ARM from a monthly perspective. Reason being, it's only been around for a little bit, but you did create a monthly bullish fair value gap right here. I know there was a lot of wacky options flow on this. Ultimately, my idea was here. I can come over here and show you it. So uh, here it is. So ultimately, you'll see 121.38 was where I'm eyeballing this. And again, not only does that take out weekly relative equal lows, but also that would get us into that monthly bullish fair value gap, which is a good thing. It is a big range. That's the one twist. But to me, I think price will retrace into here, and I think we're going to start moving higher again. So that's just my take on ARM. Really, the most bullish situation would be down here at 106, but I don't really think that's gonna occur. I think the range is not quite yet done and not yet set. So yeah, that's ARM. That's interesting. I'm actually glad that I looked at the monthly on this to see. Um we did have what's it called? That monthly fair value gap for him. Yeah, SNAS. I had to go through IWM a little bit. Uh, Thoughts on TQQQ? So I did Qs. I'm pretty sure the T is just a leveraged version of that. So I don't think much would change there, Josh. Um, all right, on to end phase. So end phase really sparked my interest when I started to look at it. This was on the yearly time frame. So let me pull that up. Um, Here it is. Yeah. So this is what sparked my interest. And I looked at this back in January because um uh, well, really because of this setup. So if we're to look from our low to our high, discount retracement, bullish imbalance, all in check, and so far so good, leaving that imbalance. So I bought this right away when the year started, as a result of seeing us kind of get out of that imbalance. Now, you can kind of see it from this perspective. My model would suggest price finishing at 339.92, and I know it sounds crazy. It doesn't have to happen this year, but ultimately, I think that's where we're going. And if we were to come over to, let's just see the monthly for instance. You have your three drives higher pattern with your one high, two high, three high melter. The only thing here that we should note is that ultimately this is just, you can really look at this from any specific price run, but this one is the most convenient, obviously. But there it is. And here is your monthly, not only your monthly bullish fair value gap, but a volume imbalance as well. So far, so good. Consolidating here. Price did get sticky inside that monthly bearish fair value gap, but ultimately, I think we continue to move higher on this name. You do have a couple monthly imbalances ahead, but not for some time. So ultimately, I think my model is going to complete here on the weekly time frame up at 139.65. And when that happens, we do have a untouched weekly bearish fair value gap before another. So weekly time frame, we got a couple of levels to beat as well, but not much has changed here on end phase either. So that is a plus for me. Now the ticker that everybody either loves or absolutely hates. Apparently, everybody who follows miners, apparently they fight with each other, right? CLSK just had that nasty offering, and pretty sure the CEO dumped a ton of shares too. So that's unfortunate. But yeah, I'm a Mara guy anyway. But looking at it from this perspective, of course, we can go to the weekly where you could see my setup, but there is a untouched monthly bullish fair value gap here. Ultimately, I'm thinking that we're going to get into that monthly fair value gap first, which is at 35.48. That's where it starts. Here it is on the weekly time frame. There's your low to your high. Here's your discount retracement. Sorry, there's a lot of lines. I know, just a lot of bullish imbalances here, but ultimately, my model completes on Mal right here on the weekly time frame at 34.09. That swing high, and then of course here's the monthly fair value gap, in which I think we will get into, and from that point, do we get some sort of substantial pullback. There is a chance for that, of course, with Bitcoin already at all-time highs, and the whole are we going to eventually pull back on the market as a whole? So if there was to be a place for that, this would not be a terrible spot for it to happen. But um, I think long term, this is something that I want to continue to own. So that is Mara. Drifting over, we can look at Oxy. So on Oxy right now, these are weekly levels. So let me just remove. Okay. So if we are to look towards Oxy, you will notice that last month we did gap higher. Okay, that's a bullish volume imbalance showing you urgency to move higher. Okay, and from this point we have, I'm not sure if we ever got into discount. No, we didn't. We never got into discount. So I mean, is that a chance? Is there a chance, I should say, for some sort of move to the downside? For sure. Can we justify a move higher to take out these highs? Yes. And honestly, that's kind of the way I'm leaning, to be honest with you, especially after sweeping this low right here a couple months back. I think we could see some sort of continuation move, and all that really means is that the range is just not set at this point, right? And again, that's fine. So that would be Oxy, just an individual energy name. I know we talked on it a little earlier. I want to look at Upstart actually, because Upstart is a name with a absolutely massive range. So price went to take out all your lows from that high down to our lows. You'll notice that we did make a monthly bullish fair value gap, got into it one more time. So if we were to look from this perspective here, I know it sounds crazy, but your monthly uh, or I'm sorry, your chart in general, your range is massive on this name, right? So, if we were to anticipate some sort of discount retracement like we do really on every ticker, and it's something that is a recurring theme throughout the market. And, if you just type in on Twitter with the @MandoTrading hashtag Mando model, you will see how often price likes to retrace to 50% of a range. So this bearish imbalance has been filled. So ultimately, we're still actually holding structure here. I'll show you it on the weekly as well. But your first draw would be up at 72.58, and then really all you're working with from there is a bearish order block, one more imbalance, and then 50% is all the way up there at 206. I know it sounds crazy, but if you are to anticipate discount retracements, that's where it is. And there's a lot of names like this, believe it or not. What's another one? I think Roblox is another one with a pretty crazy range. We'll get to that. Carvana is another one that like that. Affirm is another one like that. So, I said it to the group on Monday night, and ironically, the next day they were talking about meme stocks. But I said, don't be surprised if they start flooding these meme stocks, because there's a massive range on them, and price can seriously move as a result of that. So that would be Upstart. Now to Robinhood, which had a great month. Into that monthly bearish fair value gap here. You have one more above. Another name with a pretty big range, right? So if we look from those all-time highs over here, our high down to our low. Okay, 50% of the range is all the way up there, 45.91. Okay, and here's the interesting part about Robinhood is because it is relatively new. Newer ticker, I should say. I mean, 2021 wasn't all that long ago, and there's really not all that much data in terms of your all-time historical trading. But one thing you'll notice is that above that 50% mark, right? You have a wick. Of course, there's smaller time frame levels. So if we were to look at the weekly, you will see some weekly imbalances in here. But overall and ultimately, this tends to be the time where you see reversals when you don't have higher time frame levels inside a specific range. So just interesting food for thought. Of course, you did create this monthly bullish fair value gap. I am still holding my shares. I'm ready for them to cross 100%. I'm curious. I'm thinking maybe we reach for the high of that monthly fair value gap. And then from there, we retrace a bit, and that'll be fine by me. But just an interesting look on Robinhood, another one of these names with a pretty large range overall. So that would be Robinhood. What's up, guys? Yep. Um, so let's scooch over here. We'll look at SoFi, another just absolute slug. It really is a painful trade. Um, Now we've been sitting inside this bullish imbalance for a while, and just by using, I guess the basic idea here, it would be that when price gets into an imbalanced area, which would be this green box, we really don't want it to sit in there all that much, right? Because what is it doing by sitting inside there? It's just balancing the range, right? So that obviously is not ideal. I'm curious, do we turtle soup, meaning do we get a sweep of the lows down here at 650, whatever it is right here, about 650 flat? Low of this candle is 641. So do we sweep that low prior to making that move ultimately higher? Again, this is a name with a relatively large range, okay? Just like a lot of these others. And you'll notice that we do have one level down here, which is in premium. So not particularly an area where I would look to short. Price likes to retrace into discount, but you do have this right at 50%, which is a bearish monthly fair value gap right there. So that would be more up my alley. But yeah, it's just got to get going, and it's taking forever. And it's been a pretty miserable trade. But this is a bearish monthly order block, so not really all that ideal for bulls on this name. I'm thinking this is probably what we see, a sweep of that low here, unlock some of that liquidity in order to finally start pushing us higher. So that is SoFi. Um, so I'm just trying to keep tabs. What's up? What's up, Kale, Tony? So let's see, what do we got? Palantir. Okay, so Palantir. I saw somebody just posted like a really like doomsday post on Palantir, but to me, that is not the case. We just formed a monthly bullish fair value gap, which is a very good thing for Palantir bulls. Here is your other bullish amounts right there. I guess the only scary thing would be that you have relative equal lows down here on Palantir. So that low, 1368, 1368. But you're forming another bullish fair value gap here on the monthly. So that's pretty encouraging. And obviously your all-time high being up here, buy side liquidity, but your range is also still big, and we've just got to 50%. There's a bearish order block. So this is kind of showtime, if you will, on Palantir, where we currently closed out. We got above that 27.53. No higher time frame levels here as well. So is this a company that in the long term is going to make it and shift market structure bullish? Just a question mark at this point. But here's what your bullish order block and how you can mark that would be. Whoops. I used the body of the candle on that. So that's your bullish order block, rejecting so far, but pretty encouraging for bulls that you hold on to that and create that monthly bullish fair value gap. So not gonna, we'll look at Baidu really quickly. Nothing really here. Just the relative equal highs that I've been watching for too long. That's Baidu. But here is AMD. So this is actually a pretty interesting one. So AMD, whenever it was, eventually completed my model that got us back up to 160. Now, where we currently sit, this month, obviously a high reach, meaning we have that high wick candle, and ultimately, what are we down already? Already from those highs, we're down about, $50. So we do have a bunch of bullish imbalances down here. So That's a good thing. Does that mean that we have to come down and get it down here at 161? That would be the first of three. How would I map my range in this situation? Well, we took out that high right here with low to high. So we get into discount at about 162, and this is on the monthly time frame, of course. So not quite there yet. We're still about 18 bucks from that point. But that this would be the setup. I mean, ideally, you can get something down here and discount. So it's a little bit more difficult to be overly bullish on something like this, knowing that your monthly suggestion would be lower. Like at what point would I feel that we would absolutely start heading down into discount? I like to see and wait for some sort of imbalance to kind of show me that we're gonna go back down into discount. So not quite, but this is an interesting area out here, discount to look towards. So on to PANDW. So with PANDW, we have a bullish trend that ultimately took out our all-time high. Here's your discount bullish imbalance. This is on the monthly time frame. We got into that monthly, held it, and of course this past month we held on to it again, started to leave it. So ultimately, I would like to see this start to get going, and I think Nancy Pelosi would too, as she bought a ton of this. But wicked run on this one for sure. Again, like at what point would I say, all right, we're gonna like retrace on the grand scheme of things? Again, it's something as simple as, can we get some sort of monthly imbalance, which we didn't ultimately. Now, one key thing that I'm going to keep tabs on, and I know it's not all that difficult to do so, but a gap down on that first trading day or gap up on that first trading day, that could actually set you up a little bit, knowing that that's likely how we're going to paint the candle. So for example, if we gap up, um, there's a chance that we create a monthly bullish volume imbalance, right? So even if we are to retrace lower, we have to keep that in the back of our head, just so that towards the end of that month, we can kind of keep tabs to see if we are actually going to paint it lower, or we're going to, make some sort of end of month reversal. Again, you can go through these charts and you'll notice, like, at one point this candle right here was red, but we gapped higher. So at one point our candle was down here, we gapped higher, and ultimately to create that bullish volume imbalance, we're gonna have to close that month higher. So that can be a pretty substantial move on that monthly time frame. I'm only gonna do a couple more, but Roblox. So I actually really like Roblox here. Here's your current setup. Okay, you have relative equal highs above. You're really not working with all too much resistance at this point. I think you got one more very small here. You do, but we got into it already. That's good right there. And it's filled. So you know how I always say, like, I wait for some sort of imbalance to kind of show me that price wants to go lower. Like, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Gap down, showing you urgency to move lower, right? There it is. And ultimately getting the flush. If we are to get our overall range, hold on. Very similarly to a lot of those other names that I talked about before, but you have a massive, massive range here. So with Roblox, obviously our all-time high at 141 down to our low at $21. Here's a bullish monthly fair value gap that we just got into last month. If we are to map our range, right, we took out that high with what price run from that low to that high. Notice where we bounced on the monthly time frame. Pretty encouraging, and knowing that you have 1, 2, 3, 4 sets of relative equal highs, that's pretty encouraging for this upcoming month on Roblox. So I'm gonna hold on. Let me just write this one. So that would be Roblox. Actually, really interesting setup. Now, of course, we're looking at it from a monthly perspective. So can this take a while? Yeah, for sure. It can take a while. Again, if you're looking at any higher time frame, I think you have to kind of go into it with the idea that it could take some time before it gets itself going. So that would be Roblox. Let's see what else we can do in a video. So not much has really changed. Just another monthly high, another fair value gap form. There we go. Um, so yeah, doesn't look like this sucker's done yet. Another fair value gap. There's a chance that this month does not form a fair value gap. So if price were to come down to 825 at some point over the next month, that would prevent a fair value gap being formed for the first time since December. That's just kind of something that I'm gonna keep an eye on, because ultimately at this point, if these semis go down and you're not getting what's it called? You're not getting any love from Apple or Tesla or really a couple of other big names. Think about it. We've been running the way that we have, and I know it's gotten stagnant as of late with um, NASDAQ not really, creating any sort of imbalance to the upside. But that's all been really without Apple and Tesla, two names with pretty big holdings inside the S&P and NASDAQ as well. So, um, if the semis were to pull back and you don't get picked up by, say, Apple, say, Tesla, Amazon, Google, you kind of need those names to step up as well in order to keep this train rolling. And, by looking at Apple, whoops, hold on. Um, so here's your monthly chart on Apple. We did get into that monthly fair value gap, and we have held it thus far. Just worth noting, if you are to take a look back, a lot of the times when we are um, in discount or approaching some sort of retracement, you will notice that those gap downs do tend to paint bullish order blocks. So that's just something to keep an eye on as well. So next month would have to close above. That's a pretty big task, but 179 in order to paint a bullish order block here on the monthly time frame. So um but let's see. Yeah, I did SoFi already, man. So I think I'm gonna shut it down right now and keep it short for tonight. But I already did SoFi, so you can go back and check on that one for sure. Um, so that's all I got for tonight. Um, Thanks for coming in, and we will talk soon.